It seems so simple, and yet it is so hard. I also know that this is largely symptomatic of other neurodivergence and creative types. This is sort of my therapy homework. This kind of sucks. Okay, we're really gonna do this. I'm going to show you my craft room because I want it to be my craft room, and currently it is not. So I'm in an area of the house that largely doesn't get seen without getting into a whole house tour. This is a long ranch house, and I'm at the last bedroom before like the master and another bedroom split off. So this I often refer to as like the fourth bedroom, even though it's like master's over here, the next one's over here, there's this one, so like maybe it's the third bedroom. I say it's the fourth one because I generally just don't spend time in it. And then the office, which you have seen me do videos in, is down the hall that way. So let's go ahead and talk through some things and why you haven't seen it yet. And some of you, if you've been around for a little bit, maybe you have seen it in like very short snippets when I've talked about, I really need to get this room together and make it what I want to be. And I've been talking about that for over a year now. So clearly this is an area of, I don't know if contention is the right word, but it tends to collect clutter even despite my best efforts to declutter this area, which has happened. I've had this room almost completely empty before. So if you followed me over to this channel from my last channel, you've seen this room nearly empty. You can vouch for this. So like even just around this corner from the hall, I have my walking pad treadmill and, you know, pair of leggings hanging off of it. I will say typically in the winter, I do pull this out into like the dining room or living room area and I will use it. I really just didn't this year because I'm not even going to pretend like I was the most active person this past winter, but I chose different activities other than my walking pad. And every time I thought about like dragging it out, I'm like, ugh. And of course, Milo's still in a kitten stage and, you know, he's not even a year old. So I didn't know how he was going to react to it or the belt because some cats want to, you know, do that to like a treadmill belt. And that's probably, I'm assuming, not good for a treadmill walking pad type of belt. So I am a self-proclaimed clutter bug. And even, again, in my previous channel, it's still up and around. I haven't felt called to post to it lately. And maybe because something like this makes me almost feel like a fraud because it's already a huge dumping ground again, even though I've gone through everything to make it completely bare, and then it was just the easy place to put stuff in. I didn't have a purpose for the room. I didn't know yet. I didn't know if I really wanted it to be a craft room. And like the more I thought about it, it was like I had to have like at least like a little bit of a vision of how I wanted to use this room. And I think back then when I thought of like craft room, I was thinking of like these overblown things with tables and wrapping paper stations and what I'm like, I didn't want really that. And I didn't know if it would feel weird that like I tend to watch TV and do my crocheting and knitting on the couch in the living room and then have a separate space for that in like not, you know, the main area of the house. There's no reason in a way for me to have this separate space other than the context in my brain because I do live alone. I'm a single dweller other than the cats, but okay, so they own the house and I just kind of am here, I guess. And, you know, they let me live here and I give them food and clean their poopy boxes in return. So, yeah, there's really no other reason to have a separate space. It stays closed off because it is so messy and junky. I didn't want them getting into stuff. And actually, that's part of how it got junky was I originally did have a really good system for organizing my yarn, and this lasted for years until a different kitty that we still miss and we still love him, and it's still kind of charming in a little bit of a way, even though he's gotten to my Madeline Tosh pashmina, yes, with cashmere. And he was very motivated. And so it was like sweater organizers that you would hang in a closet in clear vinyl so I could still see all of the colors and have them organized nicely. And that worked so well until I had my first boy cat that vinyl was not a barrier at all. I also somewhat suspect Milo might be the same because he loves chewing on like ends of papers or like corners of like mail or ball bands or whatever. So that's something I'm taking into consideration because part of me wants to like maybe replicate that because it worked well. I'm not a huge fan of like the IKEA cubbies for some reason. I don't know if they just feel heavy because this is not a super large house. I know you're like, oh, but you just said you have like 4 bedrooms and like, oh, okay, these are not massive. I need to reduce your expectations. The kitchen is small. You've seen my living room area. Like it's not massive. I think this is like a little over 1,100 square feet. So 4 bedrooms, but like efficiently arranged in a ranch home. So part of me thought I could also recreate those, like I mentioned, the sweater organizers. But then I'm like, well, what closet would they live in? Because if I want to do the crafting and stuff in here, that closet is awkward and it's got the double, like rods, I guess, like hanging rods. So shirts and like you can't do long stuff necessarily. I mean, I guess maybe I could play around with that. But then also, if I open the closet door, you don't always like see everything in there. And I know like we're not even in there and I'm explaining all of my rationale and you're like, okay, we need to see this, but we'll get into it. And so this is where some of your opinions are going to come into play. And so I thought I could do that. Or I could put those vinyl hangers back into this bedroom over here, but then I would have to constantly come over here for yarn. Or like, what if I rearrange the bedrooms so that way, like this is, but I'm like, but the cat's already used to this being their room. I didn't want to create any issues, particularly of the bathroom sort, by swapping rooms. And I just was like, and then I don't know, like this one just felt like the smaller, cozier, like I could make a little crochet and knitting den. My old TV is in there, and my thought at one point was that instead of like, okay, like obviously I could watch TV on it, but I could do like just like fireplace scapes on there. So it feels like I have a fireplace in there. So I'm describing all these wonderful things and like this kind of idea, but I'm still feeling stuck because I still don't fully understand how I'm going to organize my yarn once I go through this archaeological dig and get the stuff that's not yarn or knitting or craft or that sort of stuff like out of there. Because once you start putting some stuff in there, then it I put those sweater organizers in there to deter queso. And then also, it was just the easy place of like, oh, my dad's coming over. I don't want him to see like what I'm getting like him for this, or, oh, here's boxes for a garage sale or yard sale or whatever. And then like the weather just never cooperated last year. So those just got dumped in there instead of going to the garage because I didn't want the mice out there. Like, it seems so simple and yet it is so hard. And that's why I'm like, this feels really, really vulnerable for me to share. I know I'm not the only clutter bug out in the world. I also know that this is largely symptomatic of other neurodivergence and creative types and just chronically, I don't want to even say disorganized people, but like where people for whom classic organizing systems do not work, which is why I did like the Clutterbug system. But the problem is this room in particular was the easiest one to close off and just not deal with. And so even though I had it in more than decent shape, it is not anymore. And so yeah, I'm really open to some suggestions. I did have one idea I saw, I think scrolling through like Facebook or Instagram, and I always struggle to find either the screenshot or the download of whatever it was, or Pinterest. So hopefully I can find it for this video and put it somewhere here. And then I was like, I just don't want to, put that many holes in the wall. I have purchased the crates because when Joanne was going out of business, I thought, well, that would be like the best way to get all the crates affordably. And sort of that's true, except that like they were not the best quality. And then a lot of them would need a ton of sanding or to be lined with like a muslin or a fabric or something. So this is why things can get so hard. So I am willing to let the crate idea go completely, even if that means that someday this summer, all of the crates go into the fire pit and have a bonfire later this year, because that's where I'm at in my life, and especially this room, because it has been hanging over my head for a while now. And in fact, this is sort of my therapy homework, because I had been talking to my counselor or therapist about some issues that I was struggling with. And she was like, okay, but like, is there anything like that you feel is unfinished or something that's hanging over you? And if you took a week off of work, you could focus on that or some of that time on that and then relax. And so I brought up this room and I'm like, now that you mention it, if your only view of my house was this room and no other room in my house, you would assume I am a hoarder. It is seriously to that level. So we all, maybe we don't all know, but if you don't know, clutter usually is a reflection of some sort of internal chaos or conflict, or like, and some of it you don't even know until you start to deal with this. And that was something, the first time I seriously lost weight. Gosh, like this, I'm just that into this. I found out a lot about myself by just being on the treadmill and just letting my thoughts run. I really did learn a lot about myself. And every time I go through a clutter declutter cycle, I feel like something else resurfaces. So I have a suspicion what some of this stuff is. And some of it is like things that I've been putting off. And so there are bags of papers in there that you'll see here in just a moment. I promise we're getting there. And I know I need to go through those and find certain specific documents, and I've been putting it off, and I'm at the point where I feel like I cannot put it off anymore. And I need to find those papers and get through those minimum, absolute bare minimum. Everything else is just like, I know once I get into the mode to do this, like it's going to be a hard, like start, stop, start, stop, start. You get what I was trying to say, like, because that's kind of who I am. But once I hit that tipping point of like, I'm seeing progress, that's why I feel like this week off from work, it's only Saturday, so it's like the first day off. It's like not even really into my true PTO time. This is just, the weekend. I feel like that's going to be the tipping point to at least get this to a place where it is not so daunting and miserable feeling. And the other struggle I had with this too is like, I really almost brought in someone else, meaning a friend or a family member, just because having that second person does help and keeps you on track and focused. It can feel like it's going faster. Well, first of all, like there's two hands, but even if they don't touch anything, like just having someone to talk to while you're doing this will like usually kind of make it feel less sucky and go faster. And then you have this like someone there just to be like, hey, what do you think about this or whatever. So I think it was just at that point where I'm like, I struggle with asking for help, number one. So that's a me problem. Number two, this is so embarrassing to me. And the fact that I'm about to post this on the internet for like all of my crochet and knitting friends to see. I don't know how I feel about this other than the only reason I feel like I'm kind of willing to is because I have to believe A, I'm not the only one, and B, I have seen other videos of people going through their stash and cleanups. I just don't know that I've seen it to the level that we're about to see. So you've waited long enough. Let's just go right into it because I'm going to try to like not edit this at all. So we're 15 minutes in. Let's just go ahead and open the door and let me get out of the way. This is just the little bit of a peek. When you this is like a little over halfway open. I can't even open it fully all the way because there's crap behind the door. So, yeah, you know what? Let me pan down a little bit so you can really take in all the junk. And so this is me just kind of showing you, this is not the day of like full decluttering or anything. Like, I'm trying to see like what all you can see because I've just, got the tiny screen to look at, but like there's tools, there's hooks and other needles and stuff from other videos. And you know what? Hang on. Give me a second to give a full tour. So, you know what? Let me turn you around. This is gonna, oops, probably going to be the easiest way to do this. And so, yeah, some of the stuff you recognize. I mean, I even just put the scraps from my ranunculus. You just saw that video. I put it there just because like I was at that point of like, I don't even know what to do with some of this stuff. It is actually kind of insane. So one thing I did decide, I had this like brainstorm of an idea, and actually it wasn't my idea. So a lot of these boxes are things that I was going to put out for like a yard sale or something. And it wasn't fully my idea. My brother and sister-in-law had mentioned something about one of the auction yards, and I thought, oh my God, even if I don't get nearly as much as I would from like a yard sale, that's just what needs to happen. But I need that financial motivator to like go take them over there. Because I know you're like, well, just take them to Goodwill. And I'm like, no. And also I have a thing about Goodwill. But anyway, so this, I mean, you have barely seen a drop in the bucket. Anyway, so let me go let you look back around. And I have the slow pan on so it wouldn't be too jarring. So I believe in this box there is either, oh, that was, no, there's got to be yarn or something in there. More yarn, like this. So you can kind of see what I was talking about before. I'm actually kind of surprised the cats have not gone haywire. There's the TV, and then, oh, come on. I don't remember how to lock this. So I'm going to force my camera to do things it's going to get mad at. But anyway, so you can kind of see, like, this is what I mean about the closet is just super awkward. Not the best, in my opinion, because it does go back a little bit and there's like that dead space. And I didn't want the dead space. I want to be able to like actually see my yarn as much as possible because that's what helps drive my creativity and color selection a lot of the time. So like I said, I'm just kind of giving you, let her take everything in. Like this is just truly, I don't know. Let's see. Okay. Sorry about that. So like there's the papers and the mail and stuff. There's bags from when I cleaned out my last car when I purchased my current vehicle, and that was over a year ago, so that's special too. Archery stuff that like every summer has been horrible and not cooperative for that, so I haven't really learned what I want to, and clothes that don't fit anymore, gardening seeds, you name it. And then obviously these plants are going to need a little bit of TLC. They do get watered on the same schedule as everything else, but because the room is closed off, I don't pick off all the dried leaves or yellowed leaves or like anything like that like I should be doing. And then I think this one over here might do better at work in general. So in that environment. So yeah, and then the crates, all that fun stuff. So that is what I have to deal with in the time ahead of me. And I mean, there's empty boxes in here, those like Chipotle catering boxes. I'm like, but they're nice boxes. I can't get rid of them. There's, one box that's like full of just polyfill. That's like, I mean, it's stuffed in from the way they shipped it to me. Emergency backup water that I bought 3-4 years ago, which, it's fine. It's there. I'm not super upset about, other than like, why is it in here? Especially because like during the Arctic blast, some neighbors were like, hey, my pipes froze and I need water. So I was able to offer that at least, even if it wasn't, collected or taken up on. So I am a huge fan of 5 minutes matters. That is, Dawn from the Minimal Mom has this thing where like if you set a timer for 5 minutes, you would be shocked at A, how much you can get done in 5 minutes, and B, it kind of is that like self-motivating thing, and then you almost like race yourself to get as much done in that 5 minutes as possible, and then you just keep coming back and you have fresh eyes and lenses, and then you don't run too much into decision fatigue. And I think having pre-made a lot of decisions is already going to preempt that. So I'm not taking that approach this particular time. I'm not working on this room at all today, other than I am simply going to remove any kind of bag that has paperwork in it that I need to start going through. And that is something that I can do while I'm watching television and any remaining Olympic events that I still want to see, that I just, I couldn't keep up on all of the events when the Olympics were actually going on. And I'm going to be sad when I can't see them on Peacock anymore. But anyway, that is really my only plan. And that's where I had to have like this, okay, what is the lowest barrier to entry that's going to feel like a win? And to me, it's going to be the paper. I also made sure the last time I went to Aldi and Meijer that I packed my groceries in paper bags, because if I can collect the unwanted papers in there, that's what's going to help make that go quicker. So that is my only goal for, I don't even know if it's just for tonight. That could bleed into tomorrow. I don't even know if I'm going to get this room completely cleared out and straightened up in this coming week, but at least I'm going to make progress. So there is that. And I've also contemplated some other thoughts of like, do we want to do some of this live together? I don't know. If you have any ideas for yarn storage, I'm not a huge fan of like plastic bins. I know the clear plastic bins are popular. My thought is like, if it's sort of shelfy but also keeps the cats out of it, that's why I liked those sweater organizers for that purpose. I don't know. I feel like I'm like asking for something that probably does not exist as a solution, other than if I were to take the sweater organizers and get like a garment rack and hang them along one of the walls. And maybe, you know what? I'm kind of glad I'm doing this now, because I hadn't even thought of that. because I'm like, oh, then it's just going to be in the way. But let me explain this to you. So this is also where a little bit juts in. I don't know if you can tell this at all. So there's this little bit of dead space here. So like, as long as I left like to where I could get to the light switch, maybe I do want a garment rack thingy and then go to the sweater organizer system again. So I think my goal is going to be, I know not all of my yarn now is going to fit in the sweater organizers that I have because I kept buying too much. and so it's exceeded that capacity. And, but at least I can mock up what I'm thinking. Someone in my family has a garment rack that I'm hoping, actually, I think more than one someone in my family has garment racks that I'm hoping they're not using. And if they are, then I will start hitting up some thrift stores and yeah, I guess start at the thrift stores, which I know that's probably going to be hard because they want to keep their racks. But I know there is one resale shop a couple towns over that I have seen them have garment racks before, like the rolling kind. So that's kind of where I'm at. This is obviously probably going to be a series. And if we want to do some of this live, I don't know. I can't promise that's a thing that's going to happen. I just wanted to throw it out there if there was some sort of massive interest that I could maybe figure out a way to do that here and come up with a setup. Obviously not right now because I can't even really walk and nobody needs to see me tripping over everything and all that stuff. So stay tuned. And with that, I'm just going to go ahead and grab at least one bag of papers. Well, I don't know. I guess I'll just go ahead and start grabbing papers or like largely junk garbage. This probably came from my last vehicle and get at least all the papers out and we'll see what kind of difference just that makes, even though I'm not going to go through all these papers with you because that would be super boring and you shouldn't be subjected to that. Okay, so it didn't make as much of a difference in that, like, I can't fully open this right away. I thought I might be able to just by removing the papers, but there is a hamper still here. But at least you can kind of tell that there's carpet that exists under here now. And so there's that, and it's some open space. And to me, even just that little bit does, sadly, feel like progress and that I at least started, because I think that's the hardest part, is just getting started on something like this. So if you are in the same boat and you're struggling with your craft room, I mean, spring cleaning is just a natural thing in my mind. I feel like it's one of those things where even if you don't plan to spring clean, it just is like naturally, like, I don't know, to me it's a tendency. Maybe it's just my crazy brain and how it works. So hopefully you won't feel so alone and that, you know, there are others who are kind of in the same boat and also going through their crazy stashes and craft rooms and trying to get it together. And if this is at least even remotely helpful, then I've done my job. So stay tuned, and I guess we'll see where this room ends up. Yeah. This kind of sucks. Just trying to do the thumbnail kind of sucks because it's just, this is how I feel on the inside. It really is.